you want to see how I built it, stick around. First things first, get this piece of aluminum trued up. I got it running as close to square as I could run. This rough stock is a little bit out of true, so we'll square it up and we'll get this process started. Alright, got that pretty squared up. I'm going to knock that sharp edge down. Perfect. Alright. Now we need to drill a centering hole. So we got something to go off from to thread it and where the bullet's going to pass through. I'm going to start with a 23/64, which is going to get a little bigger when I go ahead and cut the bore of my barrel. My barrel, I think, is 720 thousandths. So let's get started. Let's get started drilling this in there. Okay, I think we got that centering hole through there far enough. See what we got here. Yep, I'm through about a little over 2 1/4 inches. Should be pretty good. Now I'm going to get all this out of the way. So I can go ahead and face that front so we don't have those saw marks in there. So I'll get all this ready to go. Alright, we got this set up to face. Let's move this in here, get it squared up, and we'll move on. Pretty nice. Now let's re-bevel that edge. Okay, now we will get set up. I like to use an end mill on this mini mill because the inside diameter bore just doesn't work that good. So I use an end mill and I just keep cutting it bigger until it mics what I need it to mic. So let's get that set up and we'll be right back. Okay, now I'm going to bore this, use this end mill, and I'm going to go in about 1 1/4 inches that I'm going to cut it to my barrel diameter, which is roughly 720 thousandths, an inch back from the end of my muzzle. And that will allow this to slip on there nicely, and I'll cut some reliefs and I'll be able to clamp it on. So let's get going here. Alright, made a little finishing pass there. And you just got to keep doing it, keep checking it. And you can be a little over from what your barrel measured, but there we are. It was 720 thousandths, and we are there. Keeps moving on me, but it's 720 thousandths. So we got that done. Now let's reface that, because when you're cutting that, you get a little, some of this trash builds up and it scars up the face of that. So just to pretty it up a little bit, let's go ahead and face it again. Well, we got that on there. Let's go ahead and cut the chamfer on the inside, just so it's not sharp. Cutting our fingers. Now, because of how this tool is, I want to set up on this other side, so I need to reverse the rotation of my cutter so it cuts on the right side of this cutter. And there we go. Now on to the next step here. We will measure our length, and then we need to mill this down for the right diameter to thread it. So we'll get that set up and we'll be right back. Well, we got through there. So now we need to undo this. We'll re-chuck it up. And we'll lay that down and then we'll thread it. So I'll get it set up. Got it re-chucked up. It's 2 thousandths out of round, but on a mini lathe, that's really good. So now I'm going to turn this down to my specs I need, the diameter I need to thread this bad boy. Let's do it. Alright, we got to be getting close. 0.621, 621 thousandths. That's pretty good. That's right in between the mid-range, where I'm actually going to use a die to thread this, because I want to keep this simple so anybody can do this. If they have a little mini lathe, and obviously it won't fit a gun barrel. So yeah, we're gonna get set up and thread it. Okay, now this die was difficult to get started, but I finally got it started. I used the handle in here. I turned this by hand to get this threaded. Wasn't exactly the easiest thing I've ever done, but it worked out. It's really, really hard to get it straight. And I think it's close enough. So I think we're good. So now we're going to uncheck this, and it's time to go to the milling machine. So we'll get her set up. Alright, set up in the mill. I installed the fly cutter, and I'm going to deck the top and the bottom of this so it can flex a little bit. So let's get started. This is going to take a while to do this, because you can only take a little bit at a time. And you want your RPM low, because this is a big cutter. So low RPM, and just take it slow. Okay, now we're just going to flip it over, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. Alright, I finished milling that. I went ahead and vacuumed everything up just to keep everything clean, because it's just a bummer to work with a dirty area. So now I'm going to set the mill up, and I'm going to drill 3 holes in each side and thread to clamp this down so it can actually clamp onto a barrel. I'll get it set up and we'll be right back. I got the mill set up to pilot drill these holes. I'm going to use an end mill, 5/16. I'm going to plunge, countersink these so I can drill them and tap them. So here we go. And I got a stop set right here on my mill, so they're all equal distance down. I'll finish punching all these and then we'll go to the next step. Alright, got them all countersink. Now I'm going to change my bit and I'm going to drill the tap size all the way through. So I'll get set up and we'll be right back. Okay, I got all the holes drilled for the tap size. Now I'm going to change to a little bit bigger drill bit and I'm going to drill halfway through so the screw can slip through the first hole and thread into the bottom hole. And when I get that done, I'll be back with the next step. Okay, I turned it on its side. I'm going to use an 1/8" end mill and I'm going to cut a relief cut in the middle of this to stop at the end of where the barrel goes in. This will allow it to squeeze together and clamp to the barrel. So let's do it. Alright, there it is. Now, this is going to have a lot of sharp pieces on it. Okay, it's got a lot of sharp pieces from drilling those holes. So I built this little piece some time ago, and it'll go up inside of here, and I can tighten it, and it will secure this, so I can put it back in the lathe and spin it. And while I spin it, I can hold sandpaper on this, and it will knock all those edges down and polish it up nice just so I don't cut myself. So I'm going to get this bolted up, and I'll be back when I get it back in the lathe. Alright, I got it chucked up in the lathe, and now I'm going to spin it. I'm going to use a piece of sandpaper, and I'm just going to hold the sandpaper on it and buff it and knock some of those sharp points down. So here we go. There, that's pretty good. Okay, now that I got it sanded, got the edges knocked down, I'm going to let it be in there to hold it, and I'm going to go ahead and thread it in the lathe for these 10x32 bolts. So I just ease the threader in there, the tap in there, keep backing it up a little bit just so you can feel it kind of clean the threads, and just go slow. Get them all tapped, and we'll move on. But this is going to take me some time, and probably really boring to watch me do this. So I'm going to stop it here, and I'll be back when we're ready for the next step. Okay, I got them all tapped, and just so you know, I did have my lathe unplugged while I was doing that, so there was no risk of it turning on. Let's unchuck it. Get my wrench, loosen my homemade holder. And there it is. Now, let's get some screws in it. Let the camera focus here. Get some screws started. just like that. That will slide onto the barrel, tighten down. Suppressor will screw right on there. I'll get those screws tightened down, and then we'll probably clean it up. And then it'll be ready to mount it on the gun. So, till then. Alright guys, I'm back in my reloading room. I've got this adapter to put my suppressor on here. I have a rubber washer that I put down inside of here. Okay? Just like this. That'll help seal the barrel. Will keep the gases going, hopefully down the suppressor and not out these cracks. Okay? So we're going to zoom in here. Alright. Now we'll slide that right on the barrel. Make sure it's pushed up tight against that rubber washer. And we will get it somewhat leveled on here. That looks pretty good. Now we'll just start kind of snugging it down. And we'll go a little bit on each screw. Kind of in a zigzag pattern, just so we know it's all pretty even. We'll get that snug down here, and we'll go back to where we started from. Go ahead and snug it down pretty good. That's pretty tight. I don't think that's going to come off of there. Oh yeah, it's nice and tight. Okay, now we got that tight. Let's put our suppressor on, and I'm going to use a gun cleaning rod, and I'm going to make sure everything lines up just to be safe. Make sure we're not going to shoot our suppressor. Alright, here we got the suppressor. Let's get it screwed on here. Okay, let me zoom out. Okay, we got her screwed on there. Now, let's put this in our suppressor. Try to line up our hole here in our barrel, and we are clear. Let's see if we can get this camera over here and see that. Now if I hold the tension off of that rod, it's right there in the perfect, right in the middle. So we know our bullet's gonna clear. Let's head out and test it out.